And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange!
145! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
The methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good afternoon. We are taking a live look right now at Space Launch Complex 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, where SpaceX is getting ready to launch the Starlink 10-8 mission. And a reminder, this isn't your ordinary Starlink. Boy, it's been a little bit since I've gotten to say that. Thankfully, you won't have to just hear me with the terrible lines. We've got some people who actually will provide insightful commentary through this stream. Joining me on air is Cody. How's it going, Cody?
It's going good. Insightful is a strong word, though. I don't know, but I'm excited to be here on stream once again, covering another exciting Starlink launch we have going from the Cape here today. So super exciting.
Super exciting indeed. And also joining us from the field with commentary is Max. How's it going, Max?
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a rather warm and pleasant evening here on Florida Space Coast.
There you go. And we will talk about the weather shortly, but you can see there, it's pretty darn good. We also have D down at the Cape. And then pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, making all of the visuals come to your screen is Ryan Caton. So that is your team for this launch, which should be about 57 minutes from now. So, always one of my favorite questions in regards to the mission is, what do we got flying today's mission, Max?
Well, today I guess we're in for a rather neat treat, I guess one could say. So on the docket over at Slick 40 tonight is booster B1069 about to embark, hopefully, on its 19th mission in just under 1 hour's time. A list of its previous missions include CRS-24, Hotbird F1, STS-1819, OneWeb 1, and 14 previous Starlink missions. So it's got quite the pedigree out there, especially with having the rough start to life that it did all the way back in CRS-24 in 2021. So it's looking good for a flight today.
Yeah, for those who don't remember, it had a nice little lean to it after it came back from its first mission, aka Crush Core got crushed, and it was looking like it was tilted over. But this is flight number 19 for the nice booster.
Well, mind you, it wasn't just the crush cores, it was also the engine bells of the Merlins that were also pretty crumpled. It came down pretty hard. I guess it must have caught a wave at the most inopportune time possible, and came down really hard and smushed, I think, all 9 Merlin nozzles of the Merlin 1D engines. And we all thought the booster was going to be destined to be scrapped. But as a pleasant surprise, this booster is about to prove all of that wrong and fly for hopefully the 19th time.
A minor detail. I guess it kind of needs Merlin engines. Just a thought. And then a reminder, by the way, I forgot to mention at the top of the show, if you have any questions, you can tag at NASA Spaceflight. We will do our best to answer as many of them as we can. And you saw there on screen, courtesy of Next Spaceflight, all of the different missions as well, including the specific Starlink numbers, because, again, there's a lot of them. Now, in terms of, as you mentioned, this flying for the 19th time, they're planning on recovering this once again. Cody, what is set down range and what is the trajectory?
Yeah, so we got a trajectory kind of going up the eastern seaboard there. So you might be able to see it if you're on the coast over there. About 600 kilometers downrange, we got just read the instructions sitting out there waiting for the booster to land. And then we got Bob sitting about 700 kilometers out there, just a little bit further downrange, hoping to scoop up those fairings to recover once again and reuse those once again. So some pretty exciting stuff happening downrange.
Yes. So hopefully it will be also saying hi, Bob, for the fairing recovery.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
There we go. As I mentioned though, this is not your ordinary Starlink. Yes, I always say that. Yes, it's following, as you see there, the typical trajectory that we're used to seeing for these Starlink missions. Yes, it is carrying 22 Starlink V2 mini satellites from Slick 40. But what's very interesting about this mission, we talk about recovering and reusing the boosters, is that so far, SpaceX has reused 99 boosters this year. So this flight will mark the 100th reflight of a booster in 2024, which mind-boggling enough that there are over 100 launches so far from SpaceX in 2024 to even reach that number, let alone the fact that a majority of their launches are on these recovered boosters. Max, you've been seeing these flights from the Cape. It's still a mind-boggling stat, isn't it?
It is, but also as weird as this sounds, like it's not as surprising, I guess you could say, because obviously in the past, SpaceX has proven the the flown capabilities of previously used boosters, obviously up to this point, 23 flights. So at this point, seeing a majority of their flights using reused boosters, that's just business as usual for SpaceX at this point. And honestly, it's more of a shocker nowadays to see a brand new booster up on the launch pad. I mean, we've almost forgotten what a shiny, bright, white Falcon 9 looks like without any soot on it. And as it goes now, I mean, a majority of the fleet now is above 10 flights. And as we know, once you start getting above 4 to 5 flights, the booster starts getting pretty dark. So it's a bright, shiny white Falcon 9 is a foreign sight to see nowadays.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's more. You're right. It's more common to see the sooty boosters, and it's so rare to see a new one. And Alex in the back channel pointing out that this will mark 331 total reuses of a Falcon 9. So about 1/3 of all reflown boosters that have flown happened this year. Yeah. Let's see. I want to start off really quick with some support that we've already been getting in even before we went on the air. Kirby is saying, "Hey, you guys, another great day at the Cape. Any day there's a launch, it's a great day at the Cape." Musical Wolves, when not your ordinary Starlink merch. Adrian. Also saying, which of the 5 towers should we be looking at? Just kidding. It is true now.
All of them.
Yes. With the crew tower now to have 5. Do you count a strongback as a tower, though? So would it be 6?
Not the strongback, but I would count the rocket as a tower in some respects.
A temporary tower.
A temporary tower. That's actually kind of catchy, Cody. That's actually really catchy. A temporary tower.
Catchphrase. Huh.
I like it. Temporary tower. Let's see here. We've got turnaround questions. I'm sure Alex will be able to jump in. 3 days in a couple minutes since the last Starlink mission on the same pad. Mr. Goose wants to know, is this the fastest Slick 40 turnaround? I think the fastest turnaround is about 2 days and 16 hours, if I remember rightly. I don't know if either of you have.
Yeah, it's around there. I don't remember the exact time, but it was under 3 days by actually a significant amount, by a few hours, if memory serves correctly. But even though as wild as it is to say that they just had rocket on the pad a few days ago, that's normal. nowadays. So even though 3 days is quick, it's not the quickest.
Again, mind blowing. And apparently, this will be 70 hours down to the minute. That's kind of cool. See, not your ordinary. And Alex in the back channel saying 2 days, 19 hours, and 40 minutes is the turnaround record for Slick 40. Let's see here. Bapshaga with a good question. Cody, I want to hear your opinion on this. What's your prediction for total Falcon 9 flights by the end of the year?
Right, yeah. So we're up there in the. Can you remind me on how many flights we're at? Because we're in like the 120 range, right? We're trying
had 106 launches this year.
106.
If you
Right.
take out a couple of the Falcon Heavies and Starships.
Gotcha. So for Falcon flights alone, I'm guessing we're gonna get up there to like maybe 110, 120 range. I'm thinking that's kind of, if I wanted to put a specific number on there, I'm gonna say 116 launches.
Okay. Pretty good guess.
I don't even know if there's that many on the docket. I should probably look through the next space flight just to see how many we have sort of planned out there.
Well, this is the 103rd to be exact.
Right.
So
right.
I know the original goal was 144 plus the 4 that they were just shy last year, so 148. So I don't think we're gonna hit that. If I had to guess, though, I'm still gonna go with my original prediction from the beginning of the year, and I'm sure there's a stream earlier on where you can get me quoted saying I said 120. Max, what do you think? Well said. We'll get back to Max on that. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm looking in chat and I'm seeing some of the 120 range, 110 range. So somewhere in there, it seems like is the consensus.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good question, though. And it's crazy that we are still somewhat close. Oh, gosh, I'm not... All right, I feel like I have to ask it. Kevin Michael Reed is asking, which is taller, the best ship or Booster 1069? I think Space Shuttle Endeavour is smaller than Booster 1069.
That's a good answer, Sawyer. Good answer.
Yeah, that's the best ship we're talking about here, right? Of course. So it couldn't be any other ship. Thank you for the question, Kevin Michael Reed, whoever you are. Here's one from I'd rather be flying an X-Wing, and I'm sure Alex will be able to help on this, but in terms of total number of flights for the booster leader, which booster is the leader, and how many flights? I believe we've had a couple this year, Cody, right, that have hit the 20s.
Yeah, I think the 20s is kind of where the kind of around there. I don't know the exact number. I'm hearing in the back channels from Adrian that Booster 1067 is the pack leader at 22 flights. So
yeah,
sorry, not Adrian, Alex. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've already had 2 that have reached 23, although those were expended, either voluntarily or involuntarily. But 22 flights for B1067, followed by B1061 at 21 flights. D is not a booster, D is in the field. Jasper saying shuttle is not a ship. I mean, we're not talking about the whole space transportation system. I'm talking about the orbiter itself, which it is still a spaceship. Come on. Let's see here. Getting some good questions in. James Atkinson wondering, when do we expect the next new booster to fly? Max, any ideas?
I think, well, the next new booster that we've seen testing over at McGregor was B1090, and I would expect the best candidates for brand new booster flights are crew missions. So potentially Crew 9, early next year. That might be next, but I'm honestly not entirely sure.
Yeah. Which, by the way, they've been doing testing over on McGregor Live, which, don't forget, we have McGregor Live 24/7, which you can check out all of the engine testing that goes on there, including that new Falcon 9 booster that is up and vertical.
And I meant Crew 10, not Crew 9, Crew 10. Apologies.
Yeah, it's going to launch the ship that's already up there. No, it's fine.
Yep, that's fine.
Let's see here. It's a strange question, but a good one. Unplugged Lamp asking, what's your favorite launch vehicle? Cody, as you're one of the newer ones here, I want to know, what's your favorite launch vehicle?
It's so difficult, especially with, just how many new vehicles there are. There's some classics, I got the space shuttles up there. Ares 1 is up there. I'm sorry I said them in the same sentence, but Ares 1 is up there for me. Starship's pretty cool. Saturn 5 is up there too. You know what? I gotta say the shuttle. Just it had some aura to it that was just like so special for a vehicle. And it had its downsides, it had its upsides, but it was something so special I don't think we'll see again. So I gotta say the shuttle.
I like it. I'm very happy with that choice. I would agree, especially those who know me. I am a huge Space Shuttle fan as well, so I gotta go with Shuttle too. By the way, if you do love Shuttle, don't forget Shuttle Sunday coming up this Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern on Space Coast Live. Chris Bergen, myself, and possibly some other people will be on talking about the Space Shuttle program. We've been going in chronological order. The one coming up this time, we'll call it the Flight of the Administrators, as 2 NASA administrators flew together on this one mission. So STS-61C this Sunday. Sunday. Outer Limits is wondering, and Max, I'll give this one to you. What's the expected lifespan of a Starlink, and when spent, do they get sent to a graveyard orbit or just fall and burn up?
So I actually don't know off of the top of my head what the given lifespan of a Starlink V2 Mini or Starlink Gen 1 satellites are, to be honest with you. That might be more of an Alex question, since he's Alex or Trevor. Alex or Trevor would be best to answer that. But I can answer the latter part of the question, which is, are they sent to a graveyard orbit or are they deorbited? So each Starlink satellite is fitted with a thruster. So when it has reached the end of its useful life, the satellite will fire its thruster retrograde and slow its velocity down and deorbit itself. So the satellites after, thank you, Alex, in about 5 years. So Alex is saying about 5 years in the back channel for a useful life of a Starlink satellite. And of course, obviously, as I just said, once that lifetime is up, it will deorbit itself and burn up in the atmosphere as to not contribute to the ever-growing problem of space debris. So thankfully, they have that going for it.
Which is nice. Yeah, it's very important now. It's requirement that all satellites that are launched nowadays must have a way to basically end their life in a way, either positioning themselves in that graveyard orbit or intentionally burning up and destroying itself. And these are in such a low orbit anyway that they will eventually burn up on their own if for some reason one of those thrusters stops working. All right. Let's see. Another question. I just had it. Where did it go? I was also taking a look, by the way, at some of the people with their favorite vehicles. I see a lot of Delta IV Heavies. Adrian, I know,
That's
is
a
very
good one.
happy.
It's not a bad choice.
Yeah. Let's see. Falcon Heavy. We see. I saw a bunch of Starship, of course. Saturn V. Some good choices out there. Ooh, someone adding Atlas too.
I'm surprised no
Yeah.
one said Titan 4 or Proton, because those are my top 2.
Ooh.
Titan 4 is pretty cool. It launched some pretty cool missions too. So
You don't hear about Titan that much anymore, which it's a good
It's such a shame, because it's one of the sexiest and one of the most powerful and brute force rockets that's ever flown, in my opinion.
I mean, it can't be beat with SRB to liquid fuel ratio on that thing. I mean, it just had massive SRBs for the liquid fuel booster it had, so it was a pretty metal rocket there.
Very metal, yes. And by the way, you know a pad that launched from, right?
On this very launch pad, Slick 40. That's right.
Exactly. Yep. Slick 40 before SpaceX took it over and turned it into a Falcon launch pad was in fact a Titan launch pad. So, little way to tie it back into today's mission too. So we are hopefully coming up on confirmation that prop load will begin shortly. The polling, I believe, would be underway for that. Cody, can you kind of go over the fueling procedure once we hopefully get that go for prop load?
Yeah, so once we get our go for prop load, we're going to start immediately loading RP1 and locks into our first stage at about 35 minutes into flight. And then at about T minus 20 minutes, 20 seconds, we're going to see a vent, and that's going to indicate kind of us prepping to start loading the second stage. And then once that vent happens at about T minus 16 minutes, the second stage locks load will start. And then you'll start seeing a lot more frost, a lot more venting. And that's when we'll start to see, more chill, more frost. Sorry, my mind was blanking there on the word. Some more frost there. And so that will kind of carry us through to locks load complete on the first and second stage at T minus 3 minutes and T minus 2 minutes. Sorry, 3 minutes 10 seconds, 2 minutes 10 seconds. And that will kind of be the fueling process for this mission.
There you go. And again, we'll wait for confirmation on that from SpaceX. But I mean, weather-wise, Max, it looks pretty good today.
It looks good, and I have to say it feels good. There's only a slight breeze coming out of the northeast right now, but the latest forecast from the 45th Weather Squadron with the 45th Space Wing was only a 10% chance of weather violation, which is essentially, in other words, 90% favorable, which are really good odds. And as my Mark 1 eyeballs are telling me right now, there is hardly a cloud in the sky in the launch path. So everything is looking great for tonight.
Beautiful. That's what we like to hear. That's for once. It looks like the posters that they advertise when, hey, come visit Florida. It's nice.
Yeah, as Crispy often says, the adverts for Florida weather are always wrong, but they are not today.
Let's see. Proper Funny with the super chat saying, did you see SpaceX maybe using Ship 33 on Flight 6? I don't know if we've heard. Is that a thing?
I have not seen or heard that. That would be incredibly surprising if that was the case, considering Ship 33 has not gone through its cryo testing or any of its proof testing. So that would be something if that turned out to be true.
Yeah.
Doesn't it still have a lot of heat shield work to be done, or am I incorrect in saying that?
I mean, both 31 and 33 have some heat shield work to be done, but I don't think anything super preventative. But I haven't heard anything either about Ship 33 getting the call. Last I heard, it's still towards the on-deck circle. And then Thomas saying, I love watching, listening, and learning so much from you guys. You rock. Thank you, Thomas. Getting a couple of items from the shop, including the Gateway to Mars sweater, and then the, perfect for SpaceX here, the Dragon knitted sweater. This is our holiday collection that is available now at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Definitely check them out. They're super warm. They're super knitted. They are really high quality. You only have a couple weeks to order if you want to guarantee to get them by Christmas. And also, Nibbles, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Cody, I'll throw this one to you, both for on this mission and your opinion.
Oh, no. Okay.
Soul Productions, stubby nozzle, yay or nay?
No! No! I don't believe there is a stubby nozzle on this. Let me check the live facts here. Let's see. Stubby nozzle? No. I don't believe we have a stubby nozzle for this one. And I do not like the stubby nozzle purely for aesthetic reasons. I get why they do it to save on material for low performance missions, but I just cannot stand how it looks. I'm sorry.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Wow. Oh yeah, now we've got Team Stubby versus Team Non-Stubby in chat here. Max versus Cody. Ding,
That's
ding.
that's got to be like the next T-shirt series. You know how we had the poll for the different engines for the engine collection. Now we got to do Stubby versus not Stubby engine.
I'm sure the wording might be a little awkward on that, but yeah, I mean, I would vote for Team Non-Stubby. Just saying. One thing we can also say is that we have a go for prop load. In fact, according to SpaceX, propellant is flowing into Falcon 9 ahead of today's Starlink launch, tracking no weather or technical blockers to liftoff. Ooh, fancy.
That's some good news right there.
That's what we want to hear. So next we will keep an eye out for the frost forming on booster 1069. Let's see here. Kelly teacher, Max, any jellyfish possibilities tonight?
Well, considering they have just committed to propellant load for tonight's T0 at 5:47 p.m. local time, no, unfortunately. Although, if you are in the northern, or if you are north of the launch site, say in New Smyrna Beach, Daytona, or south of the launch site, such as Cocoa Beach, Satellite Beach, Melbourne, anywhere along the coast, or even inland. I've never actually seen what a launch looks like from super far distances. I don't think viewing is as prominent during daytime far away as it would be at night, obviously, because you have a much brighter sky to compete with visually. But to answer your question, hopefully, no, there is no jellyfish potential tonight, unfortunately.
Yeah, but at least with the bright skies and no clouds, we should get some fantastic views. So at least we got that going for us. Here's one from Creative Byte. Cody, is there a risk that the thousands of Starlink satellites that'll be in orbit will interfere with launches or other satellites?
Well, space is pretty big, and especially lower. It's sorry that was not very descriptive, but low Earth orbit. There's a lot of space there, and so interfering with launches maybe. Luckily, we have organizations like Space Force that track all these satellites and ensure that no collisions are going to happen. But I don't really believe that it'll interfere too heavily because again, space. There's a lot of space up there. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on as we continue to see more and more large constellations of low Earth satellites like Kuiper and other sort of competitors to Starlink. We're going to see more and more of these low Earth orbit constellations. So we kind of have to watch out for during launches. Is our trajectories going to interfere at all with these launches? So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. But I don't think right now they're too big of a deal in launch windows.
Exactly. And like you were saying, with how they track it, they will put cutouts into a launch window. So even say for this one where you have an almost 4-hour window, there are cutouts specifically designed saying don't launch here so you don't hit another satellite. So they're something they watch very, very closely. Here's an interesting one. And I want both your opinions on this. I'll start with you, Cody, and then over to Max. Hugh Mann wants to know, when do you think we will see the first flight of booster 1100, considering that they are now testing 1090 down at McGregor?
Well, it will certainly the rate at which it gets to like the first 100 will it will be a lot faster to get from the the 100 to 1,000 than it is from 10 to 100. And so it's really hard to determine, like, when are we going to get that inflection point of them just mass producing boosters super quickly. I don't even know if they'll get that high of a number of boosters, because I mean, we've seen hints in the past that Starship might be getting, like, in the far future, an upgrade in diameter to just getting a super large booster and a super large Starship. And so I don't know if we'll get to that point before we see that upgrade in this sort of next block of Starship. So I don't know how close those might be, but certainly pretty far away, decades away, I'd say. Or not, maybe not decades. I don't know. This is really difficult. Yeah, I'm not sure.
At least it's a speculation one. Max, what do you think?
Well, considering how many new booster flights we've seen this year, which is not many, I suspect it may take a couple more years. Unless the cadence is rapidly ramps up next year to around the neighborhood of maybe 160 to 180 or upwards of 200, if they can get it that way. Might see it next year, and I think the most viable contender might be a Falcon Heavy sidecore, because those are expended and have to be brand new every single time. So it could be at some point, maybe second half of next year, or it could be sometime in 2026. But I think it's going to be a little ways away.
I'd
Yeah.
just like to clarify, I misinterpreted it, and I thought we were talking about boosters that were thousands of numbers away. I'm so sorry. Sorry. Yeah, I misinterpreted the question there.
It's all right. Yeah, we're at 1090 currently over at McGregor.
Right.
So.
Yes. So this is 10 boosters away. We're talking, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting though. Is I feel like part of what would actually be a delay of making it go longer is the fact that there are so many reused boosters. Like we mentioned, this is the 100th flight of a reused booster this year. So it doesn't seem like they add as many new boosters in, with the exception of maybe some Falcon Heavy center cores, some expendables. But yeah, I think that's going to be more of the delay than the production itself. So I think probably end of next year we might see it fly, but I definitely think we'll see it at McGregor at some point in 2025.
I definitely agree with that one. That's way more reasonable for 10 boosters away. Yeah.
Here's one from Matthew Ferguson that is a play on our favorite question here about Slick 40. Have the four towers been there since Titan? Not what are the four towers, but have they been there since Titan? And I believe they originally started without them, but later on into the program, I believe into the 80s and 90s, they actually erected the four lightning towers that you see at Slick 40. So it's a bit of legacy hardware, but they weren't always there. But yes, they were started during the Titan days. I'm not sure if they tore them down and re-added them following the demolition of the mobile or the launch tower for Titan ahead of Falcon, but yeah, there is history to them. Let's see. Magnum's wondering, are there missions where the second stage of Falcon 9 doesn't do the deorbit burn? And when it does, after how much time does it re-enter? Cody, I'm pretty sure it's the same thing of either graveyard orbit or disposal.
Say the question one more time. Sorry, I was just catching up on the back channel. Can you say that one more time?
Be up on the screen for you right there of the
right.
second stage missions.
Yeah, so I think it is really only we're either to dispose of second stages, re-entering, or graveyard orbit. I'm not sure. There's another option. But yeah, it's either again a graveyard orbit that's not going into interfere with other satellites' orbits, especially in the geostationary corridor, or it's deorbiting. So,
and there's, I'm sure, a video in the works coming soon about that. Which instead of coming soon, let's go back a little bit. As I was mentioning, you could see the four towers. That is a Titan launching from Space Launch Complex 40 at the Cape Canaveral Air Force station. In fact, that was the launch of the Cassini mission to Saturn. And if you look closely, boom! 1, 2, 3, 4 towers. Compare that to the right side of your screen, and there you go. You've got the Lightning Towers.
And for additional context there, that was a Titan 3 rocket that Cassini launched on. It wasn't Titan 4. And so Titan 3 obviously is the predecessor to Titan 4. So those towers have been there for quite a long time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they weren't there originally in the 60s, but by the 70s and 80s, they started using those. And yeah, especially after Apollo 12, realizing the crazy significant importance of lightning and launch vehicles being a bad combination. This is probably a question for Max. I mean, we're all excited to hear the rumble of the Merlins today, but how loud is Merlin versus Raptor? Nub wants to know.
Ooh. Well, I'll put it to you like this. So for most Falcon launches, our average viewing distance is around 3 to 4 miles, usually around the 3.5 mile marker. And Falcon 9 is a pretty loud and pretty beefy sounding rocket. It's got a distinct tone and crackle to it that other rockets just simply don't have. And so we've seen hundreds of Falcon 9 launches and heard critically hundreds of Falcon 9 launches to this point. And even from greater distances, you can all tell they have the same sound characteristics. And so it's Falcon 9's loud. And so from 3.5 miles, it's pretty loud. And Starship, for context, with all 33 Raptors on its first stage booster, is just as loud from just over 6 miles away. So if that tells you anything, and that's after Flight 1, Flight 2, and Flight 5 that I had the privilege of watching from South Padre Island, about 6 miles away, and I came away with the impression that, oh my goodness, Starship is just as loud, if not louder, than Falcon from our normal viewing spots. It's absolutely ridiculous. And also, Raptor has a much different sound characteristic to it, or I should say all 33 do, in together compared to Falcon 9, in that it has a little bit of a higher pitch and tone. And I've said it before, Starship crackles like an SRB. And I think, Sawyer, you've heard plenty of Atlas V launches and maybe Delta IV mediums, and of course Space Shuttle to this point. You know how those SRBs crackle. And
yeah.
That's what I would argue that Starship crackles even more than that. It's an absolutely superb and spectacular audio experience. It's out of this world. No pun intended, I promise. Yeah, it's wicked. So I don't even know what else to say more at this point, other than that Starship is just a almost holier than thou experience, like borderline religious, especially if you're closer to it.
Wow. I have not heard the Raptors fire up, so wow. If it's even stronger than the SRBs, that's amazing. Because I mean, Atlas V with the 5 SRB configuration is quite a powerhouse. You were there as well for SLS. The 5-segment
Yep.
SRB on that launch was quite the punch. That one went louder than any shuttle launch I'd ever seen, and I'd seen 2 of them. But yeah, that is. Oh, now I'm excited. Now I want to go down to Starbase. Got room? You can hitch my chair maybe with a little bungee cord on the back of you and D driving.
Yeah, Dean, I can give you a tow.
Cool. All right. We can see there is frost on the vehicle, meaning that the fueling is continuing, and the best indicator that all is going according to plan should be happening on your screen in the next 5 seconds or so, and that is the famous T-minus 20-minute 20-second vent. And there we go. Cody, what's going on with the 20-minute vent here?
So that 20-minute vent is very indicative that we are going to start, fueling the second stage here. And the point of this is to kind of clear the lines and condition the lines that feed the second stage. with propellant, making sure they aren't going to get thermally cracked or anything because of the super chilled propellant that we're loading into the second stage here. So it's a lot about preparing those lines, getting those lines clear, to fill up that second stage with the super chilled liquid oxygen.
There you go. And again, once that venting stops, that should mean that liquid oxygen load is underway. So another 3.5 minutes of venting, and I always love that the vent is a good indicator of the winds as well at the Cape and the humidity. So the more plumage that you see, typically the higher humidity, and if it sits around the base of the rocket, it's not super windy. In a case like this, there's a nice breeze kind of blowing it off to the side. So it's more of a stream than a cape, meaning little less humidity and more wind. But everything continues to remain on track weather-wise and rocket-wise so far. And yes, I said plumage. All right. While that's going, let me take a second here to thank some more people. Shiloh, thank you for becoming a Capcom member. Capcom and above gets access to the NSF Discord. Brett getting an item from the store, getting the new knitted blanket. Which, by the way, in addition to the Christmas sweaters that are knitted, we now have the knitted blankets. Saying, like I said before, you guys are an invaluable resource to all rocket nerds, and it feels like a big family. Well, thank you. We welcome all of you to the family, and it's really appreciated, the support and everything. And again, honestly, even if you can't support monetarily or with the shop, just being here means a lot. Hitting the subscribe button, which is free, in case you forgot. Liking the video, sharing it so other people know that this is something they might find cool. That also means a lot to us, so thank you. Shiloh also with the question here, and this is a good one. Not sure how this would be possible, but do you think it would be worth creating a system to clean up space debris somehow? # Team Jack Kilt. Cody? I believe there are places that have already started working on it, but nothing immediate yet.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a couple programs with different companies that are trying to launch satellites that are able to not only grab orbital debris and deorbit them, but also refuel and revitalize satellites that are getting older so that we can minimize the amount of space debris we have. And so that's a big technological development, trying to get one satellite close to another. I'm unsure the exact companies that are doing it. I need a reminder on that. But I know for sure that there are a couple of companies that are working on grabbing space debris or old satellites, bringing them down, deorbiting them, or again, refueling. As for large clouds of debris, I'm not sure what much can be done. I mean, there's some debris up there that's like chips of paint that'd be very hard to bring back down. So I think it's mostly dealing with large satellites that have just ran out of fuel for maneuvering or moving out of the way, and bringing those down or refueling them instead of taking large clouds of debris and trying to stop them.
And you see that concept there of being able to grab these old defunct satellites that are in the way, release it from the claw, and have it deorbit and destroy itself. This is a concept that's been considered and that is actually in the works of soon being tested. This is from Clear Space, in case you couldn't tell by the giant Union Jack. That is a UK company. Zero Cool, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. And Ethereal Swordsman with the tip at tips.nasaspaceflight.com saying, well, I missed the favorite rocket question. Mine is Minotaur. Ooh, okay. So what's everyone's favorite engine? Well, aside from Raptor. Mine's possibly the RD-0146, but the Energia engines and the RD-270 are awesome too. I say not including Raptor because currently it just kind of wins by default. Huh. That's a good question.
That's actually a really good question. I've never been asked that before.
So what's your answer then, Max?
I'm still thinking about it. And of course, my immediate answer is Raptor. As cliche and just cop-out answer-ish as that sounds, there has been no other rocket. There's been no other engine like it to this point. And it's a fraction of the size of the RS-25 and produces more thrust. So what's not to love? That being said, Oh boy. I cannot think of the actual name for the engine on the Delta IV Heavy Corsairs. It's the
RS-68.
RS-68s. That is also another contender, I'd have to say. So if I can include Raptor and I can't say Raptor, I would say RS-68. Thank you, Cody.
I'd have to agree on RS-68, but it's neck and neck with RS-68 and RS-25. I really like the RS-25 because of how its ability to kind of operate at sea level and in vacuum. That very iconic nozzle shape that's it's made for both the sea level and the vacuum. I really like that aspect of the engine. Also, its gimbal ability. It's pretty nice.
It has crazy gimbal, the RS-25. I mean, that was such a complex engine that was built in like the 70s, essentially. It's amazing how well it worked given that time. So I think that would probably be number one. Second for me, RD-180s. There's something about that roar when they ignite that just gets me every time. To hear it roar to life is something so unique that I don't really hear any other engine do.
Good choice. Good choice.
Yeah, it's kind of like a whooping sound, and then you finally get it. I don't know. It's one of those, the second you hear it, you know it's going to space. But yeah, great question.
Also being shown up there right now, the static fire from the RS-25. I love the mock diamond on the RS-25 with that hydrolox burning. You can just so clearly see the mock diamond right there. I love it. It's so good.
Oh yeah.
And also just with the exhaust byproduct essentially being water vapor, it's clear. So there isn't, besides the mock diamond, there's not much in the way to tell that the engine is running minus the mock diamond and just a very bright internals of the nozzle and the throat.
Gotta love hydrolox until it leaks everywhere.
Until it leaks everywhere. Cough. SOS.
Cough ground umbilical carrier plate. Yeah. Shuttle, so many leaks, so many issues. I mean, to see a mission delayed 6 times in a row is kind of nuts. Let's see here. Question-wise, here's a good one from Alan L. One thing I've wondered about, how is electrical power generated on these rockets? Either of you want to take that one?
Well, I believe that the power isn't generated until whatever satellite or capsule or anything deploys. And they usually use solar panels because they're charged up until a certain point of the pad, then they're all disconnected from ground power. I believe there's a call out for that, right? It's like when the vehicle's on internal power, and so it would just be using battery power until it's able to deploy the satellite.
Yeah, pretty much. It does the typically solar generation in orbit, but yeah, otherwise, I believe it's a lot of strong batteries. I know the shuttle ended up once in space using fuel cells, which is why it was so critical to get the payload bay doors open to get the radiators out to dissipate the crazy heat from it. But yeah, mostly battery.
Yeah, that is one of the issues of being in space. I love the Kerbal Space Program battery. Just
That's your answer. Yep, just Kerbal battery. I totally wasn't playing Kerbal right before the stream or anything. Not at all.
I mean, but as you were saying earlier, the heat issue is such a big issue in space because it's so hard to radiate all that heat. So if you have you can't just stick a gasoline generator on there and fire it up because it's generating so much heat and you got to dissipate all that heat. So batteries are kind of the best option when you're just for the vehicle itself, and then the payload once it goes off and it has a much longer lifespan. It generates its own power.
Yeah, and speaking of generating heat, what will keep you warm this holiday season? It's the new NSF merch. We have all of our holiday merch and sweaters that just came out. As we mentioned earlier, they are in fact knitted. So it is high quality. Trust me, they are very, very comfy. I can say wearing them. We've got the Raptor Christmas tree design. I love that one. Of course, we've got one of the brand new ones with the Polaris Dawn mission on there with the spacewalk. It's such brilliant designs. I love it. So all of that is available in the sweaters. There are also beanies. There's our great Gateway to Mars one with hoppies, whichever one you prefer. And the beautiful blankets that are now available too, also super warm. This is all at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Save yourself on radiators, just buy sweaters. How's that for a smooth transition?
I was going to say that was probably like one of your smoothest transitions or turnovers ever. That was bravo, Sawyer. Bravo.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Academy. No.
I wouldn't expect anything less from Sawyer.
Here's another thought question from Khaled, who's asking, when do you expect the first Starlink launch on Starship? Cody,
2025.
Next year. Ooh, pretty bold.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I mean, the next after it seems like Flight 6, the goal is just rapid reuse and turnaround, and it doesn't seem like they're going to go orbital with Block 1. So I think we'll see it after the first couple Block 2 starships reach orbit, and then they'll finally feel confident enough to put some Starlinks on there and demonstrate its ability to deploy payload. But so maybe like 4 launches away, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like whenever they go for that first orbital flight of Starship, that's when we will expect to see Starlinks on board. Might as well, if you're going for orbit, test it with some payload. Even if they're older Starlinks, whatever the case is, you got the payload. Why not use it? Here's an interesting question from Matt J. They're saying, how is engine chill different from regular fuel flow? Is it just a slower flow, just letting the vapor boil off, cool everything down? How exactly does the engine chill work? Cody, do you know?
I believe it is just flowing propellant through the cooling channels of the nozzle. Inside the engine bell, there will be some small channels that are little straws that weave throughout the engine bell, and that will be chilled so you aren't flash cooling it at a certain point. And I believe they're just flowing that around constantly. I'm not actually sure. You wouldn't want to vent the propellant out immediately. You wouldn't want to have some super chilled liquid oxygen just right there. So I'm not sure where it goes. They might be venting it out the bottom. Correct me, Sawyer, when I'm done. But I think they do just flow propellant through the engine channels to kind of make sure that those engines aren't going to get shock chilled when the propellant starts flowing through it.
Yeah, they also have engine chill vents on the OctaWeb too, per Alex. You've got the bleed lines that allow the oxygen to exit the engine once it gets warmed up. And
Right.
The reason that I brought this question up now is because we are at the point where the Merlin engines are beginning to chill down ahead of launch. That happens at T-minus 7 minutes, and we are now about 6 minutes and 15 seconds until T0 here. So totally not intentional, but absolutely intentional. Let's see here. Max, can we get a final weather check from you? How's everything looking weather-wise?
Just as good, if not better than before. A lot less clouds around us now. Sun's getting lower on the horizon, so the light's becoming a lot more golden, a lot more pretty. Wind has calmed down substantially. It's just looking absolutely beautiful for a primetime golden hour evening launch here at the Cape. It's looking wonderful.
Well, I will let you get all of your camera settings finalized because I know everything changes very rapidly once you get into dusk. So we will talk to you after liftoff.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'll see y'all on the other side.
We will see you there. Let's see here. We are now coming up on 5 minutes to go until liftoff. Cody, for those who may just be joining, can you kind of give us a quick recap of today's mission and profile?
Yeah, so we're going to be launching, I believe, let me put the live fact sheet really quick. We're launching some V2 minis. I was just trying to see the number.
22 of them.
22, thank you. 22 V2 mini Starlink satellites out of the Cape here. It's going to be launching on a northeastern trajectory, kind of up the eastern coast of the US here. We have Booster 1061 that's launching this mission. So Booster 1061 is going to go about 600 kilometers downrange after it's spent most of its fuel, and to go ahead and land on Just Read the Instructions, the booster recovery drone ship. And then we have Bob, the fairing recovery boat downrange to also collect the fairings. But yeah, we're going to just see a nice launch here of 22 V2 Starlink minis on a beautiful Florida day.
Yep, and 1069. It's okay to say the full number.
1069. Thank you.
You can see there the strongback retracting ever so slightly. That is the tower that is up against the rocket. Those clamps were originally just underneath the fairings there. It is now leaned backwards 1.8 degrees. It will completely throw back once we get to T0 to get out of the way. But that is all of the lines that are helping to load the propellants. That also has data connections. It has air conditioning and other climate control for the payloads inside. All of that comes through that strongback, also sometimes called the transporter erector. 3.5 minutes to go here. We should be coming up on a couple of fueling milestones. We hopefully will be seeing the completion of all of the fueling on the first stage, followed about a minute later by everything wrapping up on the second stage. And then, of course, we'll get the indication of that with another vent similar to the T-minus 20-minute vent. You can hear some of that venting as we come up now on 3 minutes to go. Cody, everything so far looks pretty good.
I'd agree. Yeah, everything's looking pretty good for a launch here. We're seeing the chilled first and second stage there. We're seeing the venting still
Stage
going.
one lock
Everything's
float is
indicating a good launch.
And there you go. As we were just talking about, the stage 1 liquid oxygen load is complete. So we've got the first stage fueled. Last but not least will be the liquid oxygen load on the second stage, which should happen within the next 60 seconds or so. So we will keep an ear out for the comms from SpaceX. I would say it's their core, but there is no capsule really that they're communicating with. 2 minutes to go now. A couple of events that will be coming up once we hit the T-minus 1 minute mark. That is when Falcon 9 will enter startup. That means the onboard computers will then take control of the remainder
Stage
of
two
the
lock
count.
float is complete.
There we go. That is a fully fueled Falcon 9. At T-minus 1 minute, that's also when the tanks will pressurize to flight levels. And at T-minus 45 seconds is when we expect that go for launch. Cody, we got that little vent again, kind of similar to the T-minus 20-minute vent. What's that?
So that's just going to be the closeout vent, making sure that the tanks are at their final pressurization level for flight. As our super chilled propellants kind of boil off, they're producing a lot of gas, so we need to get the last of that out, and we just vent the last of that out and make sure that the rocket is ready to go.
And there's the confirmation of that closeout, and that will purge the lines. The next thing we're going to listen for, as mentioned, is Falcon 9 entering startup. That will be the final minute of the countdown underway. We'll stand by for that.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
There we go. Falcon 9 has entered startup. The next thing that we will listen for is the go for launch. That is what we're hoping for in the next couple seconds.
LD, go for launch.
There we go. Launch director is go for launch. Chat, hopefully you are ready for launch as well. Make sure you are go. Coming up now, 30 seconds to go until launch. Reminder, once it does lift off, we will be quiet and let you listen to the sounds of the launch. It does take some time for them to reach our microphones a couple miles away. 10 seconds. Keep an eye out at the base of the rocket for that ignition. You'll see the giant plume. there's ignition and liftoff of Falcon 9 B1069 with more Starlink V2 minis. Go, internet satellites, go. You can hear the VAB squeal. The panels rumbling from those Merlin engines making that squealing sound. And that plume there indicative of the fact that we now have max Q. That is maximum aerodynamic pressure pushing against Falcon 9. And you can see the engine plume expanding on those 9 Merlin 1D engines as we get into the thinner parts of the atmosphere. We've got a couple events coming up in rapid succession about 30 seconds from now. Cody, what can we expect?
Yeah, so coming up here, we're going to go through, we're going to have our main engine cut off here in a second. That's when our first stage will shut off its engines. And then this first and second stage will separate. The first stage will begin its boost back burn, where it'll be heading, or sorry, not boost back burn, but it will begin its burn to head over to the landing drone ship. We have our second engine start. The second engine will continue off, entering low Earth orbit, and then we'll have our fairing deployment.
Here we go. So we should hopefully see Miko, and there we go. There's main engine cutoff. Next up will be the stage separation. On a slight delay here on SpaceX's stream, but there you go. And then next will be the ignition of that Merlin vacuum engine, which you can see there from our cameras on the ground. We have that second stage igniting. You can also see those little puffs and plumes there. That is the first stage orienting itself using its cold gas jet thrusters for its return to the drone ship downrange. Now, next up is fairing separation, as Cody was talking about. That should be on the right side of your screen, and there you go. Those two fairing halves separating away, those will now re-enter and splash down into the water where they will be used again. And you can see them from our Cape views, too. See those two items there, just underneath that dot? Those are the fairings.
Incredible views here.
Cape team, D and Max, absolutely on top of it today with amazing views. So now you can see also on the left, those grid fins have deployed. Those will become a lot more useful as we get into the thicker parts of the atmosphere, which will help steer Falcon 9 to, again, eventually that landing on the drone ship, if all goes according to plan.
One thing I really love about these booster landings is the booster kind of uses its own body as a wing. Using body lift. It steers into the wind to kind of give it a little bit of cross range capability to get all the way over to that barge. It's just really cool to see.
And that also, by the way, that launch marks the 100th reflight of a booster in 2024 for SpaceX. That is a mind-boggling number. Again, you'll see those little puffs of gas and maybe little bits of ice falling off of the booster. That is totally normal and expected. So next up will be the entry burn. We should expect to see that coming up at about the T plus 6 minute mark. So about a minute from now. Which, we always like to say here that they're fighting fire with that entry burn, right?
supersonic retro propulsion. That's the word. There it is.
I think you've just marked off EJ's bingo card there.
Yeah, no, I've seen too many of the EJ streams with him going supersonic retro propulsion.
Yeah, basically using the kind of envelope around the vehicle created by firing those engines to act as a sort of heat shield in a way. Also, keep an eye on the bottom left numbers during that burn. You could see still 90 kilometers up, the speed picking up, but as soon as that entry burn is underway, those numbers are going to dramatically change. So keep an eye out for that. In a couple seconds from now. Again, gorgeous views of the Earth, too, with this launch time on both sides of the screen. All right, stand by for ignition. The left side, there's entry burn. Fighting fire with fire, the camera getting sooty. It's about a 20-second burn. And again, look at that speed. That was at about 7,000 kilometers an hour prior to the burn. Now down to 5,200. And it's looking like it's going to pick up speed, but now we'll be getting into that thicker part of the atmosphere, and as it slams against that, that will create the drag needed to slow it down. Max, I believe we have you back. How was that launch?
Oh, it was a stunner. Seeing Falcon 9 go off into the wild blue yonder at this time of day. It's absolutely beautiful, and the sound was super pungent as well, especially at this angle that I'm at relative to the VAB. Got tons of squeal from its panels, and hopefully that came through on the audio. But it looks like we're coming up on the landing burn in just a few seconds now.
Yep, you can see those grid fins moving ever so slightly, 8 kilometers off the deck of just read the instructions. Now slowing down to just about 1,000 kilometers an hour, 6 kilometers up. So yeah, you'll notice those grid fins start to wiggle a lot more. You will see the engine ignite for the landing burn, and then it will steer itself towards the deck. You'll notice that it is aimed not at the deck once it starts, but it will then steer itself hopefully towards that X marking the spot right in the center. There we go, there's the landing burn. Grid fins wiggling. You can now see the drone ship just underneath that left grid fin. Everything looking good. Landing leg deploy. And touchdown! B-1069, completing its 19th flight, now earning the coveted Dash 20. Beautiful. And Max, we absolutely heard that VAB squeal on your audio. That was spectacular.
I was going to say, I hope you would. It was incredibly loud compared to what I'm normally used to. I'm in a slightly different spot compared to D from where we normally are. I'm over currently on the turn basin over here at the Kennedy Space Center, which is where they pull the core stages off of the Pegasus barge. And it offers just a little bit different perspective, but also I'm a little bit closer to the VAB and subsequently having a different angle relative to the panels. So the sound is a bit different in terms of the squeal pitch and volume. And apparently it's just a lot more here. So, but otherwise, it was an absolutely beautiful launch this evening.
Yeah, that is a good point. It's the different angle, the different pitch of the squeal on this one. For those who don't know, the panels on the vehicle assembly building, it just so happens to rattle at the same frequency produced by the Merlin 1D engines. And so once you get that sound from the Merlins shaking the panels, you get that really epic squeal sound. So don't forget, we have D's awesome slow-mo still to come. So keep an eye out for that. Also, Max, by the way, great job, both of you guys, still managing to catch the fairings even after separation. Were you able to actually see that from the ground, or?
Well, I mean, I was looking at the screen that I was using to track, so I can't really say I saw it with my eyes. But the benefit of having the sun where it is at our backs relative to the launch pad and the rocket is that it is lit very, very, very well, and the light contrast is such that seeing everything, including stage separation and fairing separation, and even the individual fairing thruster firings, all of that is visible in the current lighting conditions. If the sun was a little bit lower, if not a little bit more towards sunset, that would have just been an even greater visual because the sky would have been a little bit darker, but the fairings at stage 2 and upper stage would all still have been in daylight. But yes, we could see that from the ground.
That was absolutely amazing. I do want to thank some support that we got during the launch here. Christopher Taboni saying, "Hi, Bob."
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Ethereal Swordsman with a great one here saying, "Despite Max liking Stubby, thus having no sense of aesthetics, he somehow has all the best engine shots. Go buy his medal or poster prints, everyone." I agree.
I was gonna say I don't know if I like that slander, but you had a good you divergent. I don't know. You diverged from your first part of the statement, so I will allow it.
Yes. If nothing, I mean, I agree with all of it personally, but yes, definitely fantastic engine shots that are available as prints. I mean, yeah, Max's stuff in the shop is top notch. Thomas getting other items from the shop, representing favorite engines here, saying, "Love to show you guys the support." Well, thank you, Thomas. Showing support as well for the Raptor. And for, as I was talking about, favorite, the RS-25. So good calls on that. Jaden Garcia saying, "Watch this from Camping World Stadium in Orlando during the Bands of America competition." That is a very unique perspective to see this from. That is so cool. I'm glad.
And that just shows how far away that you were able to see those launches. I mean, that's easily probably an hour and a half inland compared to where we are, directly to our west. And even then, if it was that easily visible, man, if you were even farther away potentially, you probably would have still had a good visual.
And yeah, we're talking during daylight hours too. I mean, dusk, but still, they're even harder to see during the day. At night, you could see them from hundreds of miles away. But that is so cool. And apologies that you have to be at Camping World Stadium. The parking there is the worst. Just personal aside there. Let's see. A bunch of people are saying that they saw something fly by the booster at about 6 minutes into flight. We're wondering what that was.
Yeah, I think I saw that too. It just looked like a little chunk of ice to me.
Yeah, it looked like ice, which we've seen before. Also, what we get to see, speaking of seen before, is some replays, including some not seen before views. So we will take a look now back at a beautiful launch, assuming Ryan's computer wants to cooperate. There you go. Look at the vapor cone there, too.
Very prominent vapor cone today, yes. The atmospheric conditions were playing nice today.
Which, for those who don't know, how does the vapor cone form?
The vapor cone forms as the vehicle is beginning to pass through transonic and eventually into supersonic speeds, when the vehicle begins to develop its shock waves. And of course, if the atmospheric conditions are right in between or right around these shock waves, the air will condense and, of course, turn into what we see as a vapor cone. And the size and shape and speed of which they make themselves appear is all dependent on temperature, humidity, just a whole bunch of other factors in the atmosphere. And I guess it was just playing nice today because that was a pretty decent one.
Oh, yeah. And again, just great views from the ground going into flight here. As we continue to take a look at the awesome replays from our Cape team. James was wondering, why does SpaceX no longer show the satellite deployment on Starlinks? Honestly, I think it's just because they're too common at this point. Unless someone else corrects me, but I mean they launched so many of these, considering that this one launched to the minute 3 days since the last one from the Cape, and that's not counting NRO mission out of Vandy and all the other missions in the last week. But
Yeah, they
there's a
just
lot of
have
them.
they have to cover so many of these that's like, and after a while, the satellite deployment bit is not as exciting as the cool launches we get to see.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
we've a 3-day turnaround for Slick 40 is nothing to sneeze at, and we all know at this point, we've had it said before on stream many times that Slick 40 is currently the busiest launch complex in the world. So the SpaceX teams over at Slick 40 are certainly getting their money's worth with their time spent for refurb. So 3 days for a turnaround is not bad at all.
No. And again, I just love the fact that it was at 5:47 3 days ago and it launched at 5:47 today. And again, the 100th reflight of a Falcon 9 this year. I remember we'll be like, oh my gosh, they hit 100 after, 6-7 years of service. Nope, they did that in 1 year.
Truly
No biggie.
incredible, crazy.
As one does.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, as one does. Another awesome replay there from our Cape Cams. Let's see here. And again, we have that slow motion coming up. So stand by. I've already seen little bits of preview coming up on it, but there's D's famous slow motion. You can answer more questions in the meantime. Kevin Bradford is asking, is the limit on the turnaround time on the transport of the drone ship or refurb of the pad?
The answer to that question could be all of the above. I mean, it really just depends on if they can get the drone ship back in port in time to get the previous booster pulled off of it, inspect the drone ship surface, make sure it's all stable and structurally there to support the weight of a booster following landing, and of course in shape, of course, to send it back out. But that's also assuming the pad itself has not taken any more. I don't want to say damage at this point because I think it would be more appropriate to say that Slick 40 wears with the amount of use that it sees. So I'm sure at some point there are some items or some, I guess, structures over there that wear out over time that may need to be refurbed or replaced. So the technical answer to your question could be both. It just really depends on what shape the pad and the drone ships are in, and also weather as well.
Yeah, that's one of the underlying factors that we sometimes forget, but makes itself very obvious when we do, and that is Florida weather-wise. But yeah, you've got the 2 drone ships, Shortfall, Gravitas, and just read the instructions here on the East Coast. There is that pad refurb time as well. Don't forget, you also have Bob and Doug that are out there for fairing recovery, occasionally go Cosmos as well. So there is a pretty big Sorry about that. My computer crashed. Hopefully everyone's still there.
Yep, we're still here. Sorry, Sawyer. I think we lost you there for a second.
5x5, so
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I switched over to my phone to make sure that everyone can hear me. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into the fleet side that makes it happen.
100%. Yeah. I mean, just out there we had, Bob. I saw a question in chat. It was saying, do you guys have a favorite support vessel? I think Bob has got to be up there, just like the name.
I mean, yeah, because of the whole... in case you're wondering, for those who don't know, that is a reference to For All Mankind on Apple.
Well, also Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, because the 2 ships are named Bob and Doug for the Crew 1, or the Demo 2 flight that Dragon 2 had.
Yeah, that's the real names for them.
Yeah.
Doug Hurley and Bob Bankin. But yeah, the Hi Bob reference is for all mankind.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Let's see. I think my computer's finally booting back up so we can see what's going on.
Looks like we got a replay up here going.
And
Is
not
this
just any replay.
Oh,
This is
slow-mo.
slow-mo. Absolutely love these. So as we watch it, I'm going to thank everyone who joined us here. Cody, thank you for joining us.
I'm glad to be here and glad to be on all these streams. Whenever I get the chance, it's an amazing opportunity to kind of share my passion to spaceflight with people. I really love watching these. So thank you for having me.
Max, thank you for rolling out in the field to provide commentary.
It is a pleasure as always, everybody, and thank you so much for coming to hang out with us on this glorious Saturday evening. We know you all probably have better things to do than watch a rocket launch, but yet you're still here, and we want to thank you for coming to join us. So thank you very much, and we will hopefully see you next time.
Oh, come on. There's nothing better than watching a rocket launch. Except maybe watching two rockets launch.
Except two rockets.
Yes. Also, shout out to DYs in the field, providing the slow-mo footage that you're seeing on screen right now, as well as some of the views during the launch itself. And then behind the scenes, pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, making the maps, Mr. Map himself. I know I'm going to get in trouble for that. Ryan Caton is the one producing today's stream. And we have some exciting stuff here coming up on NSF. Don't forget, tomorrow, 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Eastern, Shuttle Sunday, live on Space Coast Live. If you can't make it live, don't worry. We record them and post them for posterity later, so you can check that out. But if you're available to join us live, make sure to come and interact. We also have some epic stuff coming up next week in terms of videos. It does involve KSC. So just a little tease for everyone there as we see the final vapor cones and everything go in there. I am Sawyer Rosenstein. I have been your host for today's stream. I am going to let the slow-mo continue to play and for everyone to enjoy that. As I say, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roger, planet. Water towers, fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal. Flight downside FD off. Bring in FD off. It's orange! 125! Oh my god! Oh my god! Decollage! What is it? Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
The methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You read? Sure. We don't need any more of these.